Welcome back friends. Welcome to Physics in 20 minutes. In today's video, we are going to discuss some of the problems on work, power and kinetic energy. Prerequisite videos are video number 34 and 35. So I have first problem here on the screen. Two tugboats pull a disabled ship. Each tug exerts a constant force of 1.80 into 10 power 6 Newton, one 14 degree west of north, another 14 degree east of north. As they pull the tanker 0.75 kilometer towards the north, what is the total work they do on the ship? Here is the situation I have drawn. This is the ship and this direction is the north direction. Now you can take this as west of north and this side you can take east of north. So at 14 degree in those two directions you are having two forces which are working. A constant force 1.8 into 10 power 6 Newton, 14 degree, and the ship is being displaced. So as we have learnt earlier, only component of the force which is in the direction of the displacement will do work on the ship. So the component of F in this direction will be the cosine component. So from this force it will be F cos 14 and from this force also it will be F cos 14. So the two F cos 14s will add up to give you 2F cos 14. So that will be the force working. So I can write my details here, force and displacement, theta, and the work done is force into displacement into cos theta. So it's 2Fs cos theta. I just substitute the values and I get the work done. So that's a very straightforward question. A skier gets stuck on the inclines of Gulmarg ski resort. You must project a box of supplies up to him. The incline has a constant slope angle theta. The stranded skier is at a vertical distance h above the bottom of the incline. The incline is slippery, but there is some friction present with kinetic friction coefficient mu. Use the work energy theorem to calculate the minimum speed you must give the box at the bottom of the incline so that it will reach the skier. Express your answer in GH, mu and theta. So I have an incline over here. Somebody is stuck at some place. Angle of the incline is theta. When you say angle, it is always with respect to horizontal. And it is given that the person is at a height h. So you can see that this already forms a triangle. You will be interested in this side later on. Sin theta is h upon hypotenuse. So if you want hypotenuse, then it is h upon sin theta. Do remember that. There is a box of supplies which is moving with some velocity. The forces working on the box of supply is mg in the downward direction. Normal reaction from the surface perpendicular to the surface. Mg can be split into mg cos theta, where theta will also be the angle between mg and the line of normal reaction, and mg sin theta, which will be parallel to the incline and which will try to bring the box down. Apart with these forces, the third force is working, and that is friction. So friction is working downward since the box is moving upward. Of course, this distance that the box will cover is h upon sin theta. So this is my standard diagram This diagram you will need many a times in your problem solving and all. So ensure that you draw it correctly. And normally n balances mg cos theta. So let's solve this one quickly. Here we will solve it from the work done perspective. So there are three forces. We will calculate the work done by all three of them. Work done by gravity, because when the box is going up, the work is being done by gravity. Work is being done by friction. Work may be done by normal reaction. So we are going to look into all three kind of works. Since I have already split my mg into mg sine theta and mg cos theta, then once a vector is resolved, you don't need to keep that particular vector in the diagram. So I will remove that. So my diagram becomes a bit simplified. So what is the work done by gravity? Work done by gravity is given by mg sine theta, which is component of the weight in the direction of displacement, into displacement h upon sine theta. As they are in opposite direction, a minus sign comes in. Sine theta get cancelled, and what you get is minus mgh. Normal reaction balances mg cos theta, so n is equal to mg cos theta. Friction is mu times n, so mu times mg cos theta. Friction works again downhill because the box is moving uphill. Friction is opposite to velocity, so friction is downhill. Displacement is again uphill, so frictional force and displacement are in opposite direction. So a minus sign comes in. It becomes minus mu times mg cos theta into h upon sine theta. Therefore, the work done by friction is minus mu mg h upon tan theta. Work done by normal reaction is 0. Therefore, the total work done is sum of the three works, which is minus mgh minus mu mgh upon tan theta. This is equal to final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. Final kinetic energy is 0. Initial kinetic energy will be half mv, where v could be initial velocity. So it will become minus half mv square. And if I can equate this to the total work done, then you get minus mgh minus mu mgh upon tan theta is equal to minus 1 by 2 mv square. Therefore, v is equal to root of 2gh plus 2 mu gh tan theta. I am leaving it here. You can take 2gh common and simplify it further. This is another simple problem. Walking or run. It is 5 km from home to college. You can run that distance at 10 km per hour. Typically, running uses of energy at the rate of 700 watt. Or you could walk it leisurely at 3 km per hour, which uses energy at 290 watt. Which choice would burn up more energy, and how much energy in joule would it burn? Comment on the results. Why is it that more intense exercise actually burns up less energy than the less intense exercise? So you can see that this is a straightforward question. Let's calculate first for running. So velocity is distance upon time. So time is distance upon velocity. So I will find out the time in which you will complete the 5 km distance. So 5 upon 10, it will be half an hour, 0.5 hours, or 1800 seconds. Now I can use, my power is given, power is delta W by delta T. So I can calculate the amount of work done. Remember, the work done would be the energy spent. So it is 700 into delta T, which is 700 into 1800, and that gives me 5.6 into 10 power 5 joule after multiplication. So let's go for walking. Let's see if that calculation is correct. Your speed is 3 km per hour, so you divide by 3. You get 6120 second. Power is 290 watt. So work done would be 290 into 6120. When you multiply, you get somewhat this, which you can approximate to 1.8 into 10 power 6 joule. You will find which way you are spending more energy. So you will see that by walking you are spending more calories or more joules than by running, provided if you are running for the same distance. Remember, if you run for the same time, then it is not true. So if you have only 10 minutes at hand and if you want to burn more calories, then walking will not help. Then in that case, running obviously helps you to burn more calories. This is the last question of the day. We usually ignore the kinetic energy of the moving coils of the spring since we assume that the springs to be massless. So whichever problem you must have solved so far, you will see that you will assume that the springs are massless. But normally springs will have some mass. If this mass is little large, then they will also possess some energy. So if the spring has significant amount of mass, then what will be the kinetic energy of the spring coils as the spring releases from compression? And then there is a short problem. Consider a spring of mass m, equilibrium length L0, the length when it is relaxed, spring constant small k. Let the spring be stretched by x. So new length will be L, which is L0 plus x. And in this process, work done will be half kx square. Do remember this, where x is L minus L0. So here is the diagram. This is my original spring, relaxed spring L0. This is my stretched spring, stretched by a distance x. Let the one end be fixed and the other end is moving with the speed v. So in the diagram that we took, we assume that there is no friction and this end is moving with the speed v. Do remember that. So divide the spring into pieces of length dl. Consider one such element at length L from the fixed length. So you divide the spring into small element. Take a small element dl whose length from the fixed end is L, small l. Let v be the velocity of the element dl and dm be its mass. So this small v, remember. So this element is moving with the velocity small v and its mass is dm. So the kinetic energy of this element, small element, is half mv square, but its mass is dm and its velocity is v. So I can write it, kinetic energy of this element dk is 1 by 2 v square dm. Remember, it's half mv square. Therefore, kinetic energy of the entire spring can be obtained by integrating this equation. So kinetic energy is equal to integration 0 to L from here to here, half v square dm. But I don't know what is v and what is dm. So that is the most important part. We will make some assumptions. One assumption is the speed of the point along the length of the spring varies linearly with the distance L from the fixed end. So you can remember, one end of the spring is fixed. The end which is fixed will have zero speed. Other end is moving, will have maximum speed. So as you go from left end to the right end, the speed goes on increasing. We assume that this velocity of any element is proportional to its distance from the fixed element, or v is equal to a constant c into L. second assumption, the mass of the spring is distributed uniformly along the length of the spring. So the mass is spread smoothly, uniformly, which is most logical assumption. So your dm will be mass per unit length into dl. So m by l is the mass per unit length. Capital M is the total mass, capital L is the total length. So these two will help me to find V and dm. So I can go back to the kinetic energy formula. In place of V, I will write CL, and in place of dm, I will write m by L dl. So I substitute the two. C is a constant, M is a constant, L is a constant. They will all go out. You get integration of L square dl. Integration of L square dl is L capital L cube by 3 after you solve this. Then you will see that 2 3s are 6 and 1L and 1L will cancel. So it becomes ml square by 6. Still, we have to still find out what is C square, and that we can find it out. You can see that this point is moving with velocity capital V. That means when the length is capital L, velocity is capital V. So if V is the velocity of the free end, and since V is equal to C times L, we can write capital V is equal to C times capital L, or C will be capital V by capital L. These are the end or boundary conditions. So you can substitute V by L in this equation. It will become V square upon L square will cancel, and you get the kinetic energy of the entire spring as mv square by 6. So of the total potential energy when the spring would have been compressed, when it is expanding, it will take up this much energy. So let's see the last part of the problem. In a spring gun, a spring of mass 0.243 kg and force constant 3200 Newton per meter is compressed 2.50 centimeter from its unstretched length. When the trigger is pulled, the spring pushes horizontally on a 0.053 kg ball. The work done by friction is negligible. Calculate the ball's speed when the spring reaches its uncompressed length, ignoring the mass of the spring and including, using the result of the first part, the mass of the spring. In part C, what is the final kinetic energy of the ball of the spring? So we have to find out the velocity of the ball without considering the spring mass, and then by considering the spring mass. So the work done by the spring is half kx square, which I substitute the values. K is 3200, displacement in meter is 0.025, which is squared, will give you 1 joule. If I ignore the mass of the spring, then this entire work is done on the ball. Therefore, the change in the kinetic energy of the ball will be final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. Initially, the ball and the spring both are at rest, so it is 0. So it is equal to final kinetic energy, which is half mv square. According to work kinetic energy principle, this kinetic energy has to be equal to work done by the spring, so it has equal to 1. So once you solve, you get velocity as 6.14 meter per second. Now, if I consider the mass of the spring, then again change in the kinetic energy is K final minus K initial. K initial is still 0, but the K final is now distributed between the spring and the ball. So K final will be the kinetic energy of the spring plus kinetic energy of the ball. In the first part of the problem, we have seen the kinetic energy of the spring is mv square upon 6. Kinetic energy of the ball is 1 by 2 mv square. So according to work kinetic energy principle, sum of these two will be equal to the work done by the spring, which is 1 joule. So I can take So I can take V common here and solve it. I get 3.86 meter per second. You could see the velocity of the ball was 6.14 meter per second if we don't consider the mass of the spring, while it reduces to 3.86 meter per second if you consider the mass of the spring. So you can see this is a significant reduction in the speed of the ball. Thank you.